Time is 7 p.m. on Wednesday, November 3rd. No, not Thursday. On Wednesday, February 9, 2022. I'd like to call this meeting to order. I'm Bob Klaza. I'm present. Roy Edmonds.
Present.
Mike Hindline. Not present. Mike Bannon.
Present.
Larry Haggard. Not present. James Sunick.
Present.
Sarah Coates.
Present.
Marty McMillan.
Present.
And Stacy Jarvis.
Present.
And Christina Buchanan,
Present.
a new member of our group. Welcome.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion for the approval of the September 1st, 2021 meeting minutes as amended?
So moved.
Do I hear support?
November 3rd minutes.
Oh, November 3rd minutes.
Yep. And I think we just have the one issue with Max Wiener
Yes.
as the city council liaison.
Okay.
Chad, I didn't hear you.
With Max Wiener, there wasn't a city council liaison at that. We were in between, I believe, at that time.
Oh,
I'll double check and go back and look, but I don't.
But he was there,
He
right?
attended the meeting, but not as part of.
okay, okay.
So do I have a second as amended?
I'll second this amendment.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any not in favor, say nay. Hearing no nays, the motion is unanimously approved. Let's see here. The next item on the agenda is public comment agenda items.
I don't have any written items, so if there's anybody here that would like
Yes.
to go.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Anna Signorino. I live on Whittier, 1200 block, and last summer I was home when we had a street party downtown district. I heard from my property, and I think when we start planning and executing some of these street parties, I would take into consideration the noise pollution, because a lot of here nearly a mile away. I can't imagine how loud it is for the folks that are residents on Balfour and Berkshire, so those more neighboring streets. So that's one thing that I would like to have you consider is the noise pollution. Secondly is the lodge. I think it's a great idea to be able to rent out a place for folks to have like a dinner tournament or a bachelorette party. But the lodge was primarily built for a warming station so that children and adults and the elderly can warm up, take a rest, use the bathroom, have a snack. By privatizing that and only allowing one resident to hold a Tupperware party for her lady friends to drink wine while excluding the rest of our community from using that lodge, I think is very exclusive in nature. And I don't think that's the type of city that we are. So if we need the money for $100 to rent out the lodge, I think maybe we should consider increasing our property taxes to support that rather than renting out the lodge. And finally, I'd like to know when Backers is coming back to complete the dog park. The significant safety issues that we have with the dog park regarding the doors where they can both swing open at the same time, allowing the dogs to escape or to come in is a major concern. Also, we need another camera because the two cameras are not significant in the dog park to be able to oversee the entire dog park at one time. Also, there's not sound. And if there is an issue inside the dog park, those residents will need, in the city as well, will need to have the footage for their homeowners insurance policy to report back. Also, they didn't complete the entire perimeter of the landscaping, which being a landscape company would think that they would have. And the benches that are inside the dog park now belong to the city. Those are actually from the kiddie pool. We're going to need those back in the summertime. And so Backers agreed to cover the entire cost. And Backers should therefore be responsible for providing those benches as was outlined in the previous agreement. So thank you for taking those considerations as you move forward with today's meeting.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any other public comments? Hearing none, moving on to the next item, Windmill Point Park.
Okay, I just wanted to touch base on the Wi-Fi at Windmill Point Park. We are looking to make an upgrade. Chris is going to touch base on that as well. but there's access points throughout the Lavins Activity Center, the Tompkins Community Center, and outdoors throughout the park as well. They're about, I believe, 8 years old now.
8 years old.
And in technology years, that's fairly outdated now. We're starting to see more and more issues with that. So we have just received some quotes on that, and we'll hopefully be upgrading this summer on that. And I'll let Chris kind of finish out later with that, but I just wanted everyone to know that's something we're looking at, which is going to be great for everybody that uses the Wi-Fi down there. It's going to be a nice upgrade for us. I touched on it at the last meeting a little bit, but we have some park projects that I have put in for this next 2022, 2023 budget for Parks and Recreation. Again, some primary focuses I have are re-roofing the Lavins Activity Center, making repairs and resealing the sun deck, which is just off of the Lavins Center. It is up above the pool area there. And also there is a retaining wall that you could technically say is somewhat on the back side of the Lavins Activity Center, but technically in the front entrance area of the park. We have some issues with that wall starting to lean, and some issues with erosion that's causing part of that lean. We just need to do some new landscape work there and come up with a different method of drainage and a new retaining wall there, so it's safer for those that go through that area. Those are three of my primary focuses for the next budget to make those repairs at the park.
Chad, where's the retaining wall?
It is basically on the outside wall of the gymnasium on the
Okay.
Lavins Center, right there by the exit drive of the park. We've also just come up with a small little challenge. I know it is midwinter break will be coming up. And again, it's the month of February. It's sometimes cold and gloomy and not great. So we're having a free activity almost to all ages. It's a Lego challenge. There's no entry fee, and there'll be some prizes for the winners and maybe some random raffles as well. We have a few different age divisions, 3 to 5, I believe 6 to 8, and 8 to 12, I think, along the lines, and then a 13 plus, which also means if there's any big kids out there that like Lego as well, they can join in on that. So I just figured it'd be something fun. That way over midwinter break, they have the entire month to create something and submit it. We'll take their photos, their information, and we'll just put the photos on Facebook. We'll do some voting that way. We just ask that all participants don't put their name, underneath the pictures and things like that, and just let people vote on what they like. We just thought it'd be fun, something fun and kind of easy for us to put out for everyone to give them something to do over the month of February. Anybody have anything on Windmill? Okay, we'll move on to Lavins Activity Center. Right now, we're working on some quotes for.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Can you bring me up to speed on the theater, please? Both SCAF and I forgot the name of the other one, but attendance, movies, etc.
Sure. Do you want me to touch base on that in the Lavins Activity Center? And I'll bring up the theater.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, we're working on quotes for the fitness center equipment. We're just about to end our 3-year lease. So Chris and Mary Beth are currently working on that. We've received quotes from Strengthio, Fitness Things, and Matrix. What we're looking at primarily is who can offer the best price and the equipment that we know our clientele likes to use. It's with some of them, you may not be able to get certain equipment, so that could be a factor. It may not necessarily be the lowest bid, but who can get us the equipment that we've had in the past in the newest, latest, and greatest equipment that we know our users want. We're also, after we've kind of been evaluating the 3 proposals, there's a possibility that we might be able to do a lease with all 3 companies and use a smaller amount of equipment from each one. That way we can get everything that we want. They've kind of been changing things up. So this might be a nice way to actually save a little bit and get the equipment that we've had in the past and some of the newer equipment that we want now. So we're looking into that. Hopefully we'll have an answer. I'm going to guess, Chris, maybe within the next few weeks.
Yeah, just a couple weeks.
Yep. And that ends in April. So it should give us more than enough time to sign that contract and bring the equipment in before that runs out. I'd also like to touch base on Skyhawks Basketball. That actually has taken off quite well for us also, and that has 12 kids in our Hoopster Tots, which is 3 to 5. We have 10 kids in beginning basketball, and we have 12 kids in our just basketball is what they call it. It's the oldest age group that they have. So I'm really happy with the turnout for that. Everybody's been wearing their mask. It's been great attendance. It's going well for us. And we can touch base on the theaters as well with Scott and Okalski. Anything?
How's it going? Are you, what's the attendance like? What's the first one features that you're getting? I mean, I've
Sure.
been to them in a while. I've been to two a lot of park residents.
Yeah. Yep. It's been a little bit hit or miss with Okalski because part of it depends on what movie we have in. Like right now, we have American Underdog, which is about Kurt Warner, who played in the NFL. We haven't sold too many children's tickets, maybe if any, but we have sold tickets for it. Again, it's one of those things that there hasn't been a lot of other options out there right now, so we've been stuck with it for a couple of weeks. But again, just before that, we had Sing 2, which is a great film, so the attendance was really nice for that. It kind of just depends on the movie that we're getting in, but they've been all right. Some weeks where the attendance is where we want it, some weeks it hasn't been, but I think that's still going to be that way for a little while, just because of the current situation that we're in. We're starting to see some better numbers at times, but then we have some weeks where it dips. But even, a few years back, we had those. It depends on the weeknight, depends on the movie, certain things like that. So
Do you still have trouble negotiating, or do they still have the hammer in terms of, you take that picture, you gotta take it for 3 weeks?
yeah,
Still-
absolutely.
that's still-
There are some movies, there are some companies that will require us 3 or 4 weeks to keep it if we're going to do that. But we also run into, if we don't take that, we might not get the next
Right.
film either. So
Strong arm.
yeah, pretty much. But we're doing all right. Again, we've had some, and sometimes there's just certain times of the year with what's coming out that it's just a challenge anyways. So other than that, I'm happy with what we're doing there. The staff has been doing a great job as well.
The last thing. That's the last thing.
Yeah. Yep.
Your staffing for the Levin's Activity Center, how is that?
That's been a bit challenging. Covering some of the fitness center front desk shifts. Maintenance has been a little bit of an issue just because we've had an injury there. So we've been having some other staff fill and help out with that, which has been great with the gardening department or park maintenance, things like that. All of them have kind of been pitching in with whether it's helping set up the Tompkins Community Center or going over and cleaning the Levin's Activity Center. They've kind of jumped in and filled a lot of roles that they don't necessarily have had to fill in the past. So we've got a lot of dedicated staff that's proud and willing to help out and jump in. And if we didn't have that, it would be tough right now to keep that building
So
open.
you have this flexibility built in.
Yeah, a little bit. During some months like this, it's a little bit easier, but when we get to the summer months, it's not going to be able to. That won't happen because the Tompkins Center, things like that, will be rented every day. The Levin Center will be busy. And park maintenance wouldn't even be able to get over to do that kind of stuff if they want to keep up with grounds work and things like that. So
what will you do for the upcoming summer season?
I sure hope we'll be able to hire on enough staff. If not, we may have to consider, limited hours or certain things like that, even more so than what we currently have. But yeah, certain things with the front desk, we've just filled another shift with that, so that's looking good. But again, the front desk with the center, that has been an issue to try and fill that. Again, if people could fill in certain things like that, that's been helpful. We've been good on concessionaires, projectionists, things like that. We're okay. It's just more so been, the maintenance / janitorial and fitness center that's kind of presented some issues for us.
Do you have a concession there?
Yeah, we actually have 4 of them. So there's usually 2 on a shift. So we've been able to cover that. It's a great job, for young high school students and things like that to start out with. So it's been nice. You're welcome. Now we'll move into the marina.
So as far as the Marina Subcommittee met, and not anything to do with agenda related items, but we met to discuss the future of the Marina Subcommittee. We discussed things going forward, limiting the scope of the Marina Subcommittee. Felt like we were kind of getting a little bit too broad there rather than looking at the future and what we wanted to do, what we wanted to accomplish. So when we met, we talked about how we were gonna narrow the scope of the Marina Subcommittee, how we were gonna set goals for the Marina Subcommittee, such as 1, 3, and 5-year future, like what we'd like to see in the Marina. We also wanted to talk about what we wanted to see for this year, and that kind of led into discussing a little bit of what I've already have in plan, and that kind of comes up in a few things that I'm going to talk about here, and that is well repairs. We have Dean Williams with Dean Marine. He's going to be coming out in March or April before the season starts. He has a couple of finger piers he has to repair. There's some support pilings that are collapsing on him, so they're angled. He's going to have to replace those. And on Pier 3, the main pier, there's a support that is hanging in the water. So the rough estimate of that is based on an hourly wage of $450 an hour. Long story short, if you were to guess, it's going to be about a 60-hour project. It's going to be about a $30,000 job, but it will get completed before the season starts, hopefully, if everything plays out. I'm also looking into the Wi-Fi, like Chad discussed earlier. The Wi-Fi is outdated, and we were having a lot of issues. So, along with Windmill Point Park, the Marina will be getting hopefully a new Wi-Fi system, and it will be a top of the line as far as we can get it. The next step would be to move to fiber lines and running that out to the Marina. We're not going to get into that right now. That quote just got back to me for roughly about $25,000 for the Marina. Honestly, it's past due. It's something that I want to put forward with it. It's something that a lot of the voters talk about. They need it. It's a nice luxury to have. We've had it for the last years, and it just keeps getting worse. I think this is going to make a lot of people happy in the Marina. So again, just received the quote, so I wanted to bring attention to it today.
And you're adding additional access.
We are adding additional access points in the Marina to help with coverage. We're also moving to the top technology like I discussed. So it's going to be a lot faster, and it's going to be able to harness the 1 gig internet that we have now at Windmill Point Park.
Can I ask you this? You mentioned two expensive things, a $30,000 well repair and a $25,000 Wi-Fi system. Does that come out of the Marina budget?
Absolutely.
It does.
Yes,
And they got the money.
absolutely.
Beautiful.
Yep. So we're going to go ahead and move forward with the repairs. The Wi-Fi is just the quote that I got right now. Nothing's been set in stone with that, but that is something that I'd like to get done. I think it's really important for the Marina. And it's something that, you can use for years. So it's not just like 1 year and done. It's something that you can use, for quite a few. We used it for 8 years, but so I think it's going to be all in a good expense for the Marina.
Is there one fee for that?
No, everything is a 1 cent fee. The one thing that you do have to purchase is a cloud, basically, for the access points. You have to buy it for each access point. The cloud for the Marina would be about $2,170 for just the Marina. So that's all you have to buy. It's a 5-year agreement, and if anything goes wrong with those access points, they will replace it for free. But it's a one cost issue, so nothing we have to pay monthly. And then the last thing I want to talk about with the Marina is we're kind of coming up to March 15th, which is our deadline for Marina payments. I've already sent out a reminder to all voters about this, and then they'll get another one in the next probably couple of weeks, reminding them that final payments will be due, and then I will turn over those bills that people are coming back. Anyone have any questions as far as Marina?
All right, we'll move on to Patterson Park. We've just been tossed around the idea somewhat of rentals during the winter months at the Windmill Lodge. It's not something we've done in the past. It's usually been a spring to fall type of item that we did, because we usually had the lodge closed off for concession sales, as a warming hut to change your skates, things like that. But I've had an increased number of calls and emails this year, and in the end of last year, asking if they could rent the lodge out for birthday parties, certain things like that. And we haven't really had the activity inside of the lodge like we have over the maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Not just during COVID, but the last couple of years before that, activity down there, kind of the kids hanging out, people inside of the lodge hasn't been what it used to be. And that kind of goes for the rink in general. When it first opens up and things like that, you get big crowds down there all the time. And then it kind of plateaus off and there's smaller crowds. You still get some Saturdays here and there and things like that where there's some big numbers. But it's just there was a lot of interest in either team parties or birthday parties and things like that. What we typically do is allow them to pull a picnic permit, just like they do any other time of the year. So they would just have to use some picnic tables or something outside of the lodge. They could have their pizza or cake down there, and maybe hide their cake inside if the lodge attendant doesn't eat it or something like that. No, they're willing to hold on to it for them, but they would also like a couple of tables, maybe some chairs, things like that in there, and have a little bit of their party to warm up. And I've just been tossing that idea around is maybe that's something we could look to offer on a Saturday morning or Sunday morning, depending on if it's around ice skating lessons or something like that, where we close off the lodge for about an hour, hour and a half, and just look at that as an option. The other option could also be on a Friday or Saturday night, once the ice rink closes at 8, the lodge is closed, you could technically do a party then. It wouldn't cost us much more, just like in the summer months when we're open till 10 o'clock or so. We could pay a gate guard to stay on for another hour and a half, something like that. And you could really have, I would guess, at the age of maybe 10 and up, or even 4 or 5 couples could round the lodge, have their own private skate, have some appetizers, things like that, some little desserts, and just get together for an evening. It's not something that, we're desperate for or anything like that. I just look at it as another easy source of revenue and something that I think people in this, community in Grosse Pointe Park would enjoy being able to do. Bring some of their friends into town, have 4 5, show them off. It's a great rink. You got a television in there. You can put some music on. You just kind of hang out and catch up. Go ahead.
How does that set with Louisiana set? Windmill Lodge.
It doesn't set well with her.
Specific things, you're retasking, repurposing. How does that jive?
I don't know. I haven't put the feelers out there really yet. This is the first that I've brought it, other than talking with some staff about it. I don't think doing an evening rental like that, once the technically the ice rink would be closed, then it would cause any issues whatsoever. We wouldn't be allowing loud music outside or anything like that to cause issues with the neighbors or things like that. But I don't see what the harm would be in 10 to 15, 12 people, 4 or 5 couples, or even, 10 kids or something like that, getting to rent it out for an hour and a half, hour 45, for a couple $100, something like that. And being able to enjoy it as their own kind of private skate. Again, it's not taking away from a time that's being utilized, it's adding a new time in there that you could do it separately. Now doing a Saturday or Sunday, late morning, early afternoon could present an issue, but I'm also been kind of tracking what our numbers are like at those times and how many people are around. If it's a Saturday from 10:30 to noon, and we really only have about 10, 15 people down there or less, I don't see that it would present a big issue because they still have the opportunity to use the restrooms at the main warming up that's near the splash pad. That I don't think we'd really run into too many issues. Now, again, I can't say we wouldn't have 4 or 5 people that would be upset by it or have an issue with it, but we're not taking the rink away from them. We're just closing off the lodge for about an hour, hour and a half to do the cake or do the cupcakes, things like that, and allow them to pay for that. They would still share the rink with everyone else. It would be privatized the fact that no one else could skate out there. Go ahead.
So you still be sensitive to the issue that she brought up. You need to be, this one person she showed up that probably means there's 10.
Possibly,
You
yes.
just gotta be sensitive.
But I don't know if we have anything actually in place that says that it couldn't be done that way. It's just always, it's once the door is open, anybody can go in there. We've never looked at or explored the option of, well, we could rent it out. And again, I'm not saying that we have to go, I'm just throwing an idea out that we've gotten, I'll touch on it a little bit more. We've gotten so popular with our skating lessons that we now have Saturday morning lessons. So I probably would steer away from doing a Saturday morning because of the number of classes that we have and participants there. I'm just looking at some options that, with the number of calls that I've received from members in the park, it was a high demand to try and get it. So the thing we could do to substitute that was do a picnic permit, but really for the most part, you gotta stay outside the whole time. The 8 kids couldn't come inside and cut their cake and do all that because then they're taking over the lodge themselves, and we're not trying to do that. So it's, again, I like the evening idea, and potentially looking at what we have for numbers during the day, rental as well.
And what time does it close during the week? Like,
8 as well. We potentially could, I'm just not sure on Monday through Thursday if there would be the demand for it. But possibly a Thursday night,
Yeah.
we could do
I
something
think
like
it's a
that.
great idea too. It's going to be a good way to get more people to the park, to the party, and that's kind of a team area too that might get interest the kids, you know, that it's more, where they get parties and get together.
Absolutely, and that's why worst case scenario, do it on some times that we don't normally have. We could extend those periods of times for special parties and things like that, not cut into the normal rate time that everybody else in the park could use. With that, I'll move on to the skating lessons. We had just finished up our session 1, and we're now starting session 2. We have actually gone from years past of only having 2 classes to now having 10 classes, and pretty much almost selling out on all of them. So either we may not have realized the demand that was there in the past, or the last couple of years has increased our demand with being able to do something outdoors that's a little bit safer and you can spread out and things like that. But we now realize that we've got 4 instructors and our classes are filling up, so we're going to continue to do that. And again, like I said, we have some Saturday morning classes. So if we ever consider anything like that, I would work around that as well, because I don't want to make issues for that many children and stuff trying to get ready and go and give them enough places to change their skates and put on their skating gear and things like that. So, that's been huge. Most of you are instructors. They've been phenomenal.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I would be really disappointed if I showed my kids to skate on this Saturday afternoon and I couldn't go put skates on.
Sure.
Yep. After hours, I think is a great idea. Reserve.
Yep, and we've talked a little bit in the office about that of hesitations of, again, a dad comes down with a couple of kids or same thing, mom, and they want to go inside where it's kind of warm to change everything. Again, you can say there's plenty of benches outside and stuff to do it, but then again, you're kind of storing your stuff outside there. You know, you can run into those issues of it'd be much nicer where it's warmer inside there to change and keep everything inside, you know, which again, I wanted to throw it out there because I thought it could be a potential idea. But I think our safest bet would probably be an evening rental or something like that on the weekends.
I agree, Chad. I think that's a good idea.
I really
After
like
hours,
the
everybody would have
after
any
hours.
reason to not support that.
Yep, and we still have the staff there. We still have the cameras to monitor and things like that. So safety and any kind of vandalism and stuff like that would be able to be monitored.
And what are you thinking for a charge? Is it the same as you would do it in other months of the year?
No, maybe. I don't fully know. Off the top of my head, somewhere between the thought of maybe 125 would typically be your weekend rental, like in the summer. Because there's a little bit more included with this, having the cost of the rink. I know it's already doing things like that, but it's kind of a special feature addition to the rental of it. Somewhere in the ballpark of maybe 150 to 200 for an hour and 45 minutes or something like that. Not getting them out there too late, but again, it's still enough time on the weekend where everybody's up a little bit later anyways. I think it could be fun, a nice revenue source or stream, but not because we need it, just it's a nice, something that we can offer. And again, if you bring some friends or some other community members in, it's like, this is great, we don't have this anywhere else. One more reason why we should move here. So that's what I like to put behind a lot of the ideas. And then we'll finish up with kayak contracts. The first round of final payment was January 13th. We didn't get quite as many final payments as we were hoping for, so we extended that to January 28th. I think we still have not gotten quite as many final payments as we wanted, so we're going to do one more round of calls and emails, and then we'll start turning those over. We've always tried to be fairly lenient just because January, February, not everyone's thinking about the summer quite yet, getting their kayaks paid for. But we try to start out at the beginning of the next year, not have them pay right at the end of the last season, just so we can spread the payments out a little bit. But usually once you give them a couple of reminders, and sometimes they're out of town too. We have quite a few that even will admit that during some of these months they're gone for a month at a time or a few weeks, things like that. They put the contract down or throw the mail to the side and then completely forget. And also with the way we get mail around here, sometimes the contract never shows up. So that's why we try to reach out 2 or 3 times before we move on to the next individual on the wait list. We'll move on to gardening. Corinne, yeah.
You want me to ask questions about that park?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Dog park, can you give me a status report, like how many apps do you have? Pod's working, somebody complained about the gates opening simultaneously, so they just pulled through both of them.
Sure. I have
Security issues.
I
What's
did-
going on?
Yeah, I did not get a recent update on the number of current fobs that we have right now. I can get that and I'll send that out to you guys. I didn't check today, honestly, before we had the meeting of what we're at right now.
Basically, we got 100.
At the end of last year, we had over 300. So I'm gonna guess that I would say at least half that. If not-
Probably past 100,
Yeah.
if not hundreds.
Part of that issue has been, they're not realizing that it expires at the end of the year. They're thinking from the date that they got it. So they're coming down there for a couple of weeks and realizing, why can't I get it? Why can't I get in? And then calling and realizing that they have to come in and do the contract process over again. We have talked with Director Gerald about, because you have to buy the license for your dog here at the city and then come down, potentially bringing those all together at one location so you can get everything at one-stop shop. And I think everybody would be quite happy with that. We just got to figure out some more details on that if it can be done. We did have one small issue with the inner gate of the neutral zone. I think the fence shifted a little bit, and with the locking mechanism on that, that's just a manual lock where you just lift it and go through. It's not the key fob area. They had to take that off and replace the section of it on there. That has been defined. We're good to go with that now. It was just for a short period of time when they had to take that off because it was freezing and locking and not catching it. It was creating an issue for them. So that has been addressed. I don't know any issues with the camera system right now. I haven't had anything reported to me, so yeah, no, nothing on that end. When I can check on there is probably one more spot that we're looking into, and I think we may have already gotten the quote. I'll have to go back and look to add one more to the entrance area that kind of covered the process section. From the end of the park, you can still see all of that. It's just not as clear as we were to put one more at the corner at the front corner of the park. So we're going to look to possibly have that, but also to help with the gatehouse itself, angle another one into the parking lot and get another overview of the parking lot area as well, just for park purposes in general.
It was a very contentious issue, probably one of the most contentious we faced in years, because it disappeared and came back. Have you heard anything from the neighbors? I mean, are they accepted it? Are they at peace with it, or?
I have only heard from a couple of them. One did compliment the work that was finished, said at times the dogs can still be a little bit loud just because they work from home there. I haven't got any other than one of my staff members, one of the rink supervisors did let me know that the gate called him as an individual was calling saying that there's a dog that wouldn't stop barking and things like that. By the time she got over there, she didn't see anything going on. So she asked a couple of people that were in there, and they did say, yep, there was a dog that wouldn't stop barking, but the gentleman took him home. So by the time she got over there, they were already allowed to bark. Yep, absolutely.
Since this has come up, and it wasn't on the agenda, so I was gonna mention it later, but I'll just say I've gotten a lot of comments from residents about the dog park. I was down there this morning, actually, at 8 o'clock or something. There were 15 people in the room that don't, pretty good at 8 o'clock in winter time.
How many people?
15,
Wow.
yeah. So it's used, there's a cadre of very loyal people that use it, and they wanted to pass on to the commission and to administration. And they're really happy. They and their COVID dogs, as they said, and get that out, get out of the house, those people working at home. And they've obviously developed little social groups. There's a morning social group, there's an afternoon social group. They go down there and hang with their friends. I said, that's great. Do you have anything specific you want to have communicated? And they said, yes. Please tell them in spring when all the snow melts and things start to get mushy, we understand, do your best to keep it open. They said, we get it. You're going to have to put down chips, or you're going to have to put down sod, you're going to have to put down straw once in a while, but try not to lock it up because we are so dependent on this and we love using it every day. So that was what they wanted to pass on.
Great.
The only one other resident that I received something from was more so they had some concerns with blockage from being able to view the park. And that's mostly because their backyard is right at where one of the berms are in the park. So when people are standing up there, they can see pretty much half of their body on and up from their backyard. So I reached out to Backer. Backer did come and put a few more pines right at the back along by their fence that wouldn't intrude on cross country or anything like that. And they were happy with that. So it was nice to think of that, to be able to block that view there for them.
Last time? Disc golf.
We haven't really made any moves with disc golf. I've been honestly a little bit busy with some other projects and summer events and planning, some other leagues and things like that I just haven't really had the time yet to circle back around to that one yet. I figured maybe that's something we can look at once things in the summer get going and we're kind of in a spot where everything's running, that we can start to dig a little more research into it and see if that's something we want to consider. But I've kind of looked forward to put on the back burner for now.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Then we'll move into gardening. Corinne and her currently one staff member are removing all the holiday decorations. I believe they're just finishing up or finished with Kirchwell Avenue. And they should be pretty close to getting rid or taking all that down in the next week or two. I would think they'll be finished with that. So they're out there again, cold days, things like that, but they're doing a great job, taking care of it, putting it up, not only cold, but now taking it down, it's cold. So with limited staff, they're doing their best to get it done in a timely manner. So I'm happy with that. We'll move on to old business. I just wanted to touch base about lunch with Santa. I believe this may have been a record. I think we sold out for all the time slots in one day.
Yeah, I believe so.
We had a great turnout for that. Things went really well. We did I think a really nice job of spreading families out and trying to do our best to keep it safe. If we could give a family their own table, things like that. And who doesn't enjoy seeing Santa? The pizza's on the lunch menu. Some people can't enjoy the pizza, so it's just dessert with the cookies for them. But we brought in a trackless train. It seemed like the kids love that. We have another park resident, Bill Bresser, who's very, very kind and let us borrow Santa's sleigh. So the kids got to take a ride on that as well. That's free of charge. It's something that he does that's nice for us and for the department. So we really appreciate that. And I wanted everyone to know. And then Chili Fest, we're getting ramped up for that. It's going to be on Saturday, February 26th. From 2 to 6 p.m. We've now included Kirchhoff, Charlevoix, and Mac. So we will have activities on all three of those streets. We're looking at kind of a commons area on Kirchhoff between Lake Point and Beaconsfield, some fire pits, a wood carver. I'm still trying to figure out if I got a ice sculptor or a blacksmith demo, and maybe a food truck or two to go along with that. Between Nottingham and Beaconsfield, we will have another trackless train. And then down kind of out in front of the Zealous Route and Point Hardware area, we're going to have a petting zoo. So that's kind of our three main attractions, along with whatever business raffles or the beauty parlor that will be doing kind of tinsel hair, crazy hair for the boys. I don't know if it's going to include some kind of spray paint or styling and spiking it up, but they've got some plans because they realized last year that there was actually quite a few boys that wanted to do the tinsel hair, and mom wasn't going to let it happen. So they've come up with a plan for the young fellows to join in as well, which I'm excited about. On Charlevoix, we will have axe throwing, pony rides, and horse-drawn carriage rides as well. And then we will move up to Mack Avenue, and we will have ropophobia. That is a mobile high ropes course, and that will be near Alma Kitchen. And then Cabbage Patch Saloon will kindly be hosting our 5th annual chili cook-off. So anyone that's a bit, hesitant or concerned about staying in there and eating the chili and things like that can go in, get their samples to go, and take them with them as well. So I've tried to spread it out so that we have a lot of activities going on in all three streets, along with the businesses that are participating. And we will also have the trolley going up and down to those 3 stops. So they'll be picking up and dropping off. So that way, if you feel like it might be a bit of a hike, or if you want to park in a certain area, you'll just be able to jump on the trolley and get dropped off at one of those streets.
Sounds like a great job as usual.
Thank you.
Who's hosting the chili kids stuff?
Cabbage Patch Saloon.
Okay, especially.
Yep.
That's a
So-
virtual.
Yep. Matt.
Yeah.
Yep. If looking forward to it. They should be able to provide us with all the power, the tables, and things like that. We're just gonna get some disposable tablecloths and things like that, but they have all the stuff from a lot of activities they put on that we won't have to worry about bringing in tables or chairs or anything like that. They've got some cupboards. So I'm looking forward to that and hopefully nice weather, you know. A little bit of the wintry look, but like last year, I think it was right around 40, 50 degrees. It was a great day for everybody to get out and walk around and have a nice time. So we'll move on to new business, and that is after 6 on Kirchhoff. I'm getting super excited, and it's still quite a ways away. I don't know how much I want to give away, but I might just because I'm kind of too excited to not share it with everyone. But I've tried to go big this year on that one, and I'm going to be bringing in a 40-foot Ferris wheel, a 200-foot zip line, and what's the last one? Oh, one of those rather large, like you would see at a county fair, but it's a velocity slide. So you kind of get in the potato sack and slide down like 60 feet. So I'm looking forward to that. We have another band that gave us a great deal. Again, they have some friends and family and things in Grosse Pointe. So Your Generation, it's a pretty popular band in the area. They're going to kick off this summer due to a couple of year delay with everything COVID going on and having to cancel or other, venues canceling. They gave me an even better deal if I could push it back another year. So I did, along with a couple other great bands. It's going to be a lot of fun. We've got some new food trucks coming in. We've got some old fan favorites, things like that. So I expect quite a few new vendors as well. So I think we're going to have a lot of fun, and just keep your fingers crossed and be hopeful that rain and 96 degrees and things like that don't hit us and hurt the event. Otherwise, we're going to have a great time, and it should be a lot of fun. Marty.
Sure, do you have the dates on those?
Yes, it will be June 25th, July 23rd, and August 27th, I believe, fourth Saturday of each month. I'm also working with some local groups and organizations too, for the kind of charity or fundraiser Dunk Tank as well that we do every year. So right now I do know I have a local Little League team or travel baseball team. I've worked with Sunny Days in the past. So if there's any groups or organizations out there that are interested in working that, pretty much they may just help split the cost a little bit of what the Dunk Tank is, and then be able to take those profits for whatever it needs to be applied towards. So it's again another popular item that we have down those events. We just don't have the staff to be able to manage ourselves, and it seems to be quite popular with everyone. So reach out to your friends, let them know we've still got a couple dates open for that. And then we've also got the Charlotte Street
Hey,
parties.
Chad, just
Yes.
one quick second. What's the date in August for after
27.
27? Thank you.
You're welcome. And then we have the Charlotte Street parties. That's a little bit more geared and focused towards the 18 and up crowd, kind of more of a date night. Beverages, food trucks, and live music. We are starting off, I believe it is June 9th.
Yes, I believe you're
We'll
correct.
look at that one. But 50 Amp Fuse will be the band for that one. I believe we have Buffy's Mexication and People's Pierogi that will be there. Those events are 7 to 11 p.m. And again, a great time. We have a beverage station set up, and just kind of a fun way to get out for the night. Our July event, which might be July 11th,
June 11th,
June 11th, July 9th.
July 9th.
Okay, July 9th, June 11th for the first one. The July event will be more of a country themed night. I believe the band is Family Tradition. They're kind of one of the biggest and most popular upcoming country bands in the state of Michigan. So I think we'll have a fun night with that. We'll throw some straw bales down there, get some cut off jean shorts and some cowboy hats and have a good time. We're bringing in, I forget exactly what it is. We've got a barbecue food truck that's coming in for that one. It's just kind of fitting for it. And again, because local and favorite, it seems to, no matter what the event is, always have a huge line. People's Pierogi will be at that one as well. They're locked in for all three. Cheryl's great, and she lives here in the park as well. So we love having her every event she can get to. And then our last one will be September 17th. I think that was the third week. That's the third Saturday in September, just because we have the weekend before that, Camp Windmill. So we push it back one more week in September. And that will be Sunset Boulevard. It will be an 80s and 90s cover band. Last year we did Rockstar. We brought them back again because their first show was kind of off and on with the rain, but I still think people are talking about that one. So we had to bring them back for another year. And this group that's coming in this time is actually some former members from Rockstar. I was able to watch a few of their videos and see them, and I think they're going to be a lot of fun, especially the fact that they can do 80s and 90s, so we can have a little bit of that 80s versus 90s that night and have a little fun with the crowd and get them dressed up. We're bringing in a donut truck for that, Batter Up Waffle Company, and again, People's Pierogi, and some vintage arcade games, things like that. Just a fun one to do some throwback. Down the road, we'll be looking at other things. We're looking into, potentially Beach Boys or the Beatles or something like that. Just kind of even anything that's 70s or disco, something like that. That's kind of what our focus is on the throwback night. So any ideas or things like that, please feel free to send them my way. But yeah, it's going to be a fun summer, and I'm really looking forward to it. We've got a lot of great things planned, not to mention with just all the activities and programming that we're going to have at the parks as well. If anyone have any questions on that, we'll move on to public comment, non-agenda. Yes.
After 6, what's the time?
6 to 10 p.m.
6 to 10, and it was 7 to 11 on the show.
Yep. For the non-agenda items, I do have a written comment. It's from Ryan DiMatteo. He lives on 663 Pemberton. One is regarding, or two things are regarding the Lavins Activities Center. He asked, setting up an online schedule, at the very least a physical printout for the gymnasium, open gym classes, training, karate, etc. Too many times upon a request it feels available, but not organized enough to residents to plan around, other than always call and discuss particular details. Two is we should have a couple basketballs for the gym and handheld air pump checked out by leaving a driver's license or a $50 deposit. The other one is for Windmill Point Park, and that is what would it take to add a steam or sauna capability at our facility? Can we simplify the meeting access to our city meetings in any way? If you opt to be on a list, then you could join the meeting. You would basically get an invite mailed out to you. And then the day of, you would just click to join that meeting. That one might be a little more in depth or complex, so we'd have to look into something like that. I don't really know if there's a way that you could sign up for a meeting and then it'd be sent to you. That's something I think we'd have to take to City Hall and probably our IT company. I'm not sure if it's possible. And then they did want to say, and thank you for your service. It's what a wonderful place to live with nice resources. That's all I have for Rick.
Hey, Chad.
Yes.
I didn't understand the second point.
Sure.
Did you say something?
Yes, if there was a way that they could do add a steam or a sauna capability at any of the facilities.
Could we
Like
connect
the gym
those?
or something?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
lab center.
Yeah.
So it's not connected, you don't sit in the sauna and watch the city council.
I don't think so. But that's just the two items they put just in one question, basically, those two items.
That was 663 Pemberton.
Yes.
Where's my old house?
That's funny. I do, the comment of, I'm sorry.
Oh, Mark, sorry. Go ahead.
Going back to the Chili Fest, you had mentioned there's an axe throwing.
Yes.
Is there a cost for those activities?
No, nope, there won't be a cost to any of the participants. They will have to use, and I should have said, I'm glad you brought that up. Some of the activities will require Sign Up Genius that we did last year as well. So they'll just jump onto the website, go to Sign Up Genius, and they will fill up the time slots as they come in. So again, it's a rather large trailer. I believe it's 35 feet long and has bays on both sides. So I think it's up to maybe 16 individuals throwing at a time. So we did sell out on it last year, but
Through the site.
yeah. And then they sign a registration or yep. So that way they'll do it right there before they start throwing, and they go through training, and they're all required to throw at the same time, and they have instructors there. So it's definitely a safe activity.
It seemed
But it
well
was,
run, yeah.
it was a great time. And again, we're just kind of moving that around on the different streets. Last year it was on virtual, now we're moving it up to Charlevoix. We'll keep moving it around. But yeah, it's the same thing, a little bit with like the beauty parlor. There will be a sign up for that. The petting zoo, the trackless train, things like that won't require any kind of registration, but some of the activities will. We'll send that information out to you.
So the comment about the gym signups, have we ever considered doing that online? Is it always call in?
And it was always calling. I kind of, what's that?
Or you could come in. Inside.
Right, but why have we not moved to an online scenario for signing up for the gym?
I'm not 100% sure.
I mean, I just wonder if maybe that's, with PayPal and,
Sure,
You know.
there's some paperwork that they do fill out, so it's probably possible that we can attach that with Rec Pro. It's very likely that they may not fill that out because it sends a little extra thing and they might just ignore that. So they could then therefore fill it out when they arrive or something like that. But again, you might also have one of those things where, again, we're not completely ruling it out, but sometimes we do pop things up and move things around, whether we decide to implement in a league or something like that, kind of spur of the moment. It does take away from if we've already got some rentals, because I think it's only about 72 hours that you can rent in advance. If we extended it out, put it longer, somebody might just start hitting every Sunday and taking the times, whether they, and then cancel it or something like that. So it's definitely something we could explore and look into. And again, if somebody wants to take it every Sunday, I'm not opposed to that, but there could be just a penalty if you try to, well, we're going to cancel this one. Well, now you're going to lose maybe half your rental fee or something like that. You want.
I just think it would be easier if they're looking for a schedule to figure out what activities
Yeah.
are regular scheduled, what's open. If it's all put out there all together, it'd be easier.
Yeah.
To schedule it.
Yeah, they definitely, we're in a day and age where people want to go with online and easy. Like sometimes it's nicer to have that communication or stop down in the parking lot. People don't want to do it, just because it's inconvenient for young children or things like that, or their job in general just doesn't allow them to get down there. The last thing you want to do is come in on a Saturday if you're working late all week, just to come in and do something small like that. Right. So I think that's something we can seriously look at. There are a lot of activities and stuff we have. Camp Windmill is a bit more in depth, so there's a lot that goes with it. But rather just filling out online and saying you want a spot, that's all that there is to. There's a lot. There's breakfast choices, other activities, what site you're actually going to be at, and things like that. So, and again, you'll get a group of 5 or 6 family, friends and things like that want to come together. So there's some things I think we can do. And there's other things that are tough. We were exploring the option of the marshmallow drop and looking at just putting that as an online registration, either bringing in your printed receipt or a receipt on your phone. You could run into some issues of basically them passing along to their friends and stuff like that. If you're just quickly looking at the receipt going on, you might realize that, the Smiths came in 4 times in the same time slot, but didn't realize because you're just looking at, oh, yep, there's your receipt, and take it and go. And they print it off, and you look afterwards, you go to the stack, and you got the same receipt 4 times for 1 time slot because their friends decided to join them. But again, we could print off a master list that way. It might slow up the process a little bit more because we do try to make it fairly quick, get the activity done, enjoy some of the other activities during it, and then get out to the next group. That may hold up the line a little bit, and people start getting antsy that they can't get over, that they don't want to wait in line, they haven't really checked. But there are, I think, some activities that we can do and programs that we can allow to have more online access to. And the gymnasium rental might be one of those. I do know sometimes that I just kind of get rid of the stuff, and all of a sudden I want to pop something and start having a league in the gymnasium, and I'll think, oh, okay, we're gonna have to wait another week or put a timeline on when you can actually run it out, because I've already wanted to start a adult pickleball league, and I just haven't had the time to get everything put in place. And with our instructor Patrick, that I wanted to already pretty much have registration going for that, where we still have the time right now in the next few weeks to put it together and play through March and April. To be honest, the warm weather comes, they can go back a little bit. don't want to, restrict myself too much when I come up with something fun that, or anybody in the department that we want to try this out, another fitness class or something like that, where I'm like, okay, well, how many weeks did we run out and can we find a time? And now we're tough because somebody wants to run every Tuesday, for their group to get together. And I don't want to take away from that, but I think it's something we need to go back on and take a look at as well to see how we can better serve that and put it out as an online registration option. So we'll definitely work for that.
I think we've implemented a lot of things online over the last couple of years through RecPro. A lot of our stuff is online, but like Chad said, there are some things that are a little bit more complicated than people understand, such as Cape Windmill, and you have all these different options and different choices. So yeah, so maybe the gym rentals we can look at to implement them online if there's no complications when we dig a little bit, but most of our stuff is online. I would say the majority, almost all of it is online. We can.
Yeah, and that could be the same option with Halloween in the park. We could take printed receipts or bring it up on your phone and stuff like that. We may just have to have it where we have that list at each trail and go ahead and search through the names and find it. And speed the process up that way, especially at the Barcelona Drive. We could probably section off 3 or 4 staff members to kind of split up the last names so that they could just go to that, and it'd be much quicker to hit a certain section of names and get them through, get them out to where the area is happening again. The more time we have the helicopter and things like that there, the more we're going to pay for it. So we try to get in and out as fast as we can, but with what's been going on, it used to only be like about a half hour in between the drops, but now to give people time to enjoy it, get through it, and get the cars out the next group in, we push it out to an hour, and that costs a little bit more just for the time of having the helicopter there. So I thought it was a good call.
With this comment, like specifically about open gyms, like if you could even just post the schedule a week ahead of time, because
Sure.
people can't book 170 hours ahead. But just to say, hey, this week we've got karate fills all these times, our other classes are PT, so that your possible world of renting a gym, even if they still have to call, you got an idea, and keep that up to date every week or so.
Yeah,
as things
absolutely.
change, just to make it one step easier for people who, they do know there's a lot of things in that. It's a great opportunity for different groups to get in there, but if there's one place that, even then if you call and say, oh, someone already got that spot, at least you had the first, the
Right.
idea.
Which has been nice with now being able to rent out the entire gymnasium. You can have pickleball on one side of the gym with the divider, and you could have playing basketball on the other side. So it's nice to have those extra options or times to be able to have more groups in there, more than one group in there being able to run it out. So that's nice. So yeah, I think we'll seriously look into that and see what we can do. At worst case scenario, have a printout each week of what's going on that week. Some weeks we do have pickleball lessons and sometimes we don't. Or, right now we have Skyhawks Basketball on Sundays, but that will stop, I believe, end of this month or sometime in March. So again, some Sundays will be limited, but then after that it will open back up again. So yeah, I think we could definitely do a weekly update.
Yeah, I just am trying to understand the Wi-Fi at Windmill Point Park versus the Wi-Fi at the Marina. Are they at all connected? Is that the same Wi-Fi or they're completely separate?
They're connected, but the ones for Windmill would be for the Labs Activity Center, and then there's ones for the Tompkins Community Center. So the Marina operates under its own budget, so Marina would be separate costs, but it would be the same equipment, but you'd have to, Labs Activity Center would absorb the ones in the Labs Activity Center, Tompkins Center would absorb the ones in the Tompkins Center. So it is the same equipment, but different.
Different. And are you still looking at the code for the Windmill one or?
No,
we have
That
the
one's all
code.
set.
Yep.
And I believe that one is 3,000 for the Lavin Center and 2,000 for the Tompkins.
Yeah, with a rough estimate.
And the other question I had, I was curious about the kayak contracts. How many contracts do we?
We have 188. So I'm looking to see if I've got enough in the budget to finalize that at least 200 for this year, and just get a few more racks in and get to 200 individuals having a rack, because I think our list has probably jumped back up to probably 120 or so. The big draw and interest that I get has been with what's been going on the last last several years. They're trying to look for any kind of outdoor recreation fun, things like that. So the demand has gone up again. How many people are actually getting out and using them or just having their friends? I don't really know, but if it's there, we have the space, and again, it's not a huge expense on our end. I didn't put it in as a capital improvement request for this year, as in that 110 more racks or anything like that. I just kind of want to see how things go, and again, if we have some wiggle room in some of our line items, I could probably purchase a few more. And again, we maybe that's something we'll discuss again as a group. See if we want to potentially add one more row at that park of kayaks. If we have it there, to add another 25 to 50, not racks total, but could hold 4 each. It's not a bad, investment, but again, when's enough? We have a wait list for the boats, we have a wait list for kayaks. I don't want to overwhelm that area with just all you see is kayak racks. But again, it's a nice area, and to me, it also isn't such a bad view for the fact of there's a lot of people that want to use kayaks. It's a great way to go out and get on the water and stuff like that. So it's nice to see that there's a ton of people that want to come down to the park and use the kayaks and go out on the water and stuff like that. So I think that's something we could probably discuss as a commission as well soon.
And we have and then the one really quick comment, you got any feedback on their ramp? It's so incredibly slippery, and then it,
Yeah, it's gone back and forth. I got one company that came out and looked at it that does floating docks, and they said there was no way that their floating dock system would hold up with just the way the winds and the current stuff comes in there. And they said there's something that needs to go inside of a marina or something like that where the water is calm. It would be perfect setup for something like that. After coming out a couple of days and looking at what they're dealing with there and where it's set up, they said there's no way we'd be spending a lot of money and it would be ripped out and torn out in no time. It wouldn't last the season. There's another company that I ran into at a conference last year that does similar type stuff and said there wouldn't be an issue with it at all. That it could handle that. It would be just fine. So I'm going to look at it and see, what kind of warranty or anything actually comes with that if we were to install it. And again, 2 months down the road, it doesn't last, we're covered, just say, hey, it didn't work out, but he seemed to be fairly confident. Again, this was going off minimal information and him not seeing what he's actually working with yet. But I'll be going back to that conference again and probably following up with them and maybe having them out for a site visit to see what we can do. It's also kind of hit or miss now because we might be at the point this summer where the water doesn't come up to even that ramp area to where it'll be as much of an issue. Now, we do have some scrub brushes and things like that. How often we actually get to it and keep some stuff from going and keep it as slippery and things like that could be another story. Because I know you guys bring down a vessel quite often to go in there. So too, and that could be a little bit more trickier because that's even probably more challenging than a kayak.
for me, it's more of a, I just don't want people to slip.
Right,
You
that's,
know,
yeah,
that is
absolutely.
really
And when the water was up that way, it was difficult because it was up past that, it was up past the entrance of the fence. So that area was completely covered. So again, the slipperiness and the stuff growing out, things like that was a challenge too, unless you put waders on and go out there to try and clean it every day. It definitely presented a challenge. James.
Well, I know for myself, if there was just a deck brush out there
Yeah.
that I could do it myself, I would do it. And,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not gonna break them all. I don't have a tech brush to break, but
Right.
if there was just something out there and I was out there using it, it was slippery, I wouldn't mind taking 2 minutes and giving it a quick scrub. And I'm sure there's some other residents who might feel the same. way.
Yeah, I think we could add.
So instead of putting
absolutely.
that burden on your crew, you.
That's a good
I
idea,
would
maybe
think-
attach it to
I think we can mount it,
to the
we can
fence.
mount it to the fence for sure. We can put some brackets on there and mount
Put
it.
a bracket or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I was thinking word is, do you really have to have a ramp? I mean, I understand you do, if there's other systems, just because it's concrete and then it.
Honestly,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know necessarily that we have to. We could probably partner with DPW and just have that section removed out of there. You just kind of walk into the sand.
I'd be worried about erosion.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a barrier.
that's true. It is to an extent. Again, it depends on what the weather's like and how low the water levels are right now, that it may not even present as much of an issue this year. I don't know if it did that much last year either. Again, it wasn't, I think it's down even maybe a little bit more this, they're looking to be down this year that we may not run into it. Now 30 years down the road again, if it's all still together and things like that, we might be running into the high waters again. But it's hard to tell potentially what that's gonna be like. So yeah, I'll meet back up. I have met a couple times with our DPW director and kind of try to see if there were some options we can come up with. I don't think it's wise to potentially spend 40, 50 grand to put a seawall to kind of block that area and put a floating docking. So just don't think justify it.
Yeah, I was thinking, I just don't want people to slip. Most
Yeah.
people who use it frequently have water issues.
Yeah.
Still have to be careful.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things that I don't want to say it's, use at your own risk, but it kind of is. And just, but we want to be thoughtful of, can we make sure for the most part they can get it pretty safe, other than if they have an accident themselves or something like that. We don't want to be the ones that more so cause them created because we work something. So yeah, no, thank you for bringing that up.
Any other comments? Any public comments? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
The next meeting will be May 11th, 7 PM at the City Council Chambers again. Thank you very much for your attendance. Motion is made, seconded. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Very good.
I'm sorry for speaking out. And I glad to be here.
Oh, this time?
My first,